you read all the time about people saying, I curate travel. I don't just curate travel. I live it. Travel should humble you. It should teach you about other cultures. It should teach you about accepting other cultures. That's what it's really about. We could talk about the glamour of St. Lawrence and being on the south of France, but the real stuff is learning about different cultures and yourself while doing it. You have to know what's in the box to think outside of it. Are you willing to go where there may not be Wi-Fi and really go on the edge of where people haven't traveled to? It's not enough to just get to the top of the mountain and see a beautiful view. You have to have an experience in time and place that you take back with you.
Welcome to Wham Bam Thank You Pam. I'm your host, Pam Gaslow, writer, former stand-up comedian, and mastermind behind the 50-year plan to success. I also learned the hard way that you don't bring your vibrator to rehab and wrote a book about it. Here we have bold, unfiltered conversations about sex, relationships, personal lives, and pop culture with a sharp, sexy, and comedic edge. Wham Bam Thank You Pam is the wildly entertaining, no-holds-barred discussion you didn't know you needed. Hey guys, welcome to Wham Bam Thank You Pam. Today's guest is someone I'm very excited to have on the show. Her name is Erica Jackowitz. Erica, along with her husband Roman, co-founded Rêve Travel Club, an exclusive high-end travel concierge service. And they also run Roman and Erica, a first-of-its-kind luxury lifestyle concierge service. So hi, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on because I've read a lot of interviews you've done. I read about your businesses, and you're smart, you're creative, entrepreneurial, and I'm also a fellow travel addict and love any opportunity to talk about it with someone who not only loves it, but has experience from the other side, from planning as well. So let's get into it. So you began your career as an attorney, correct?
I did.
What kind of law did you practice? I'm curious.
General practice. I always wanted to be learning something. I went away for the summer. By the end of the summer, coming into September, I was like, okay, what can I learn? What information could be going into my brain? And the law seemed to be a great place for that, to always be expanding upon your knowledge. But as I went ahead in the law on that partnership track, it was never something I wanted to aspire to be. It was boring.
A lot of people say that.
75% of attorneys don't practice.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's high. I considered it. I never would have made it through law school, but I respect anyone who does, because to me, that's a huge accomplishment. I couldn't do it.
I think that I'd go back to law school again, and the tool in negotiations and speaking to people reasonably and vendors, hoteliers. I mean, I use the skills being an attorney every single day.
I hear it in your voice. I respect it so much. I wish I had that, but I don't really think I do. I can be a bitch, but I don't know. At the right times. So what prompted you to transition into launching Roman and Erica?
For me, I think it was a botched trip with an American Express travel agent who sent me to the wrong hotel in Cabo on the wrong dates back in 2005, where I took a step back and, I, at that time, planning things like a spa at 5 p.m. a month in advance wasn't exactly the norm. And that's how I found out they had me at the wrong hotel. Fast forward, while on that trip, I spent more time with the concierge than I did with the person I was with. Planning, executing, what should we do next? Maybe It's about the person I was with. I don't know. But in any case, I came home from that trip and really just started defining that I believed there were people out there in the world that just wanted to be able to show up, tell them where to grab a bag and what time, and they'll be there. But they didn't really want to get involved in the details, or rather, they didn't find joy in the details. They found joy in actually doing what was meant to be done in any different destination.
Mm.
And that's how it started. I started talking about it, pitching it, and I was with a very well-connected group of people where I started talking about this idea that I had, and it led me to work in the field of travel. And we eventually saw a disconnect between principles, historically where I came from in travel. It was working with that type of clientele where these people seem to have 20 different people to handle things in their leisure. They had a ticket broker, they had a domestic recruiter, they had a travel company, a concierge company, a party planner, all of these different players in their leisure. It was a terrible allocation of resources.
Mm.
So it was about 2010, we came up with this concept that if people just had a personal assistant to their leisure, whose job it was to vet and scout the world, both locally and abroad, it would be a good allocation of resources. You can call one person to have all those things handled. And that one person, the difference is versus your regular personal assistant that has never thrown a party to the caliber you would or had a children's birthday party. We live in the lifestyle that our clientele does as well. And that's our focus.
Yeah. Okay, so Rêve Travel Club, it's a membership-based concierge travel service. And
so Roman and Erica started first and was fully encompassing lifestyle management, as I described, like a personal assistant to your leisure. And for years and years, people would approach us and say, hey, can you help me with my sister a la carte or this one? And there's nothing that felt good about that in terms of the a la carte models or people charging trip planning fees. And we played in all of that, but it just felt disingenuous for us. And I never wanted to pick up the phone at 3:00 in the morning and think, how am I being paid for my time? I didn't like that billable hour thing as an attorney, and I don't like it now with what I do. So 2 years ago, we decided that the only model that actually works in this field for us is the model we created with Roman and Erica. So we took that model and said, hey, rather than being a personal assistant in one's leisure, we could actually be more like a travel assistant sitting in your office. And while that's not directly handled by me, meaning I'm not the account manager, you will have a dedicated account manager. I'm always here for the creative and to talk to every client about what to do, where to go, why, how, and kind of get that temperature from them. But Rêve Travel Club is a very modest start. It starts as, less than you would pay your housekeeper once a week on a 1-bedroom apartment. And it's really amazing. It's kind of like you think of it like a part-time salary with a travel assistant, and how close do we get to full-time is what we'll agree upon for our yearly salary together. So
is it membership per year?
So Rêve Travel Club starts at $12,500 per year.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of envisions the type of work for, I don't know, let's say a family of 4 that travels for the school breaks and holidays. Maybe the parents go for a week to St. Bart's in April or a week away in Europe in the summer. And that's kind of the hour and dedication that goes with that. So it starts at $12,500. We find most clients average out, given their travels, at about $25,000 a year. And I've had a client at $100,000. And for context, that client was traveling 8 months out of the year on a sabbatical, multi-destination, gurus all over the place. I mean, so complex. It was a full-time job.
So you and your husband, Roman, travel 6 months a year, exploring, testing experiences yourself, and you believe in living the lifestyle that you curate for clients, so that you speak from experience. And I think that's so important because, nothing instills anxiety like speaking to a travel consultant or a travel agent who has personally never been where you're going. And a lot of people, they're big agencies and they hire other people, but they don't have the experience that the owner has. So how do you work with the people you hire? Everyone that works for you can't travel the whole world and know everything. So how do you teach them to work with you and that kind of thing?
So we have 10 people in our office outside of Roman and myself. Yes, Roman and I travel roughly 6 months a year. And I always say to people, you read all the time about people saying, I curate travel. I don't just curate travel, I live it. I
Mm,
live in these moments so I understand what it's like and what our clientele needs. Look, I might not be for everyone, but for sure, the clientele that I represent and that I connect with on a personal level, we understand each other and they trust my taste.
yes.
So, yes, a lot of that does come from me and where I go and what I do and the places we experience. And I teach that to my entire team. And I have people all over the globe at all times. I had someone get back from Marrakesh last night. I have someone going to Bhutan and India at the end of the week. I have another person going to Brazil, another going to Greece, another going to Singapore. This is all within the next 2, 3 weeks.
Awesome.
So it's a lot of calendar management so that we make sure people are in movement and people are experiencing new things that are out there. We're very, very careful about who we work with,
Yeah.
who's on the ground, what is actually thoughtful. You know, these companies, as I'm sure you've experienced, it's a lot of cookie cutter stuff.
Okay, I
And
want to say something about that. So,
you do.
100%. And as you get older and travel and have more experience, you learn on every trip what you want, what you don't want. A close friend of mine owns his own concierge travel company, and we wanted to go to Indonesia, my mom and I. So we were going to South Korea and Indonesia. So they send me an itinerary. I am the worst client, like not the worst client, but the worst client in that scenario because everything was like travel 101. I crossed everything off. And I was like, we don't want to go to these places. And I did all the research myself. And I'm like, this is where I want to go. And I emailed it back to him and he calls me. He's like, Pam, first of all, we never heard of any of these places. And second of all, they're not anywhere near each other. I said, good, make it work. And they
Right.
did. Because if I'm spending my time and my money, I don't want to see the most basic thing that someone who's never been anywhere would see. I want to go deeper. I'm not going back to Indonesia next week. I want to make the most of.
Can't wait to hear about your itinerary. Can you send it to me, please?
Yeah, of course.
Indonesia too, and we did nothing that was on.
Well, he just wanted to send me to Bali, and I'm like, it's a whole country. And anyway, yeah, it was very interesting. Were there a lot of people in the places we went to? No, I didn't care. I loved it. And I liked how there was so much variety. Like first we're at a crater and then we're in like Jeju Island at the Hello Kitty Museum, just the most random stuff. Okay, anyway. But
I
so
think that's exactly what it's about, right? Like I'm going and taking my kids to Rome for Thanksgiving, and I'm in the middle of planning it. But my kids are probably more well traveled than any 70-year-old that
I'm
has traveled
sure.
the world.
How do you
So,
travel so much with kids? Aren't they in school or?
so I'm a drill sergeant, and with yes, the first answer is yes, they are in school. But as my son said to me, I think it was about a year and a half ago. He's 11. He goes, "Mom, I don't understand. How come every time we have a day off from school, we have to travel somewhere?" And I look at him, I go, "Get those dirty words out of your mouth."
Yeah, because he's a kid. He wants to probably sit home and do nothing or whatever.
Look, we grab that bull by the horns. If there's a day or two off from school, summer we travel a lot, spring break. So it ends up being with our kids about, I would say, about 2, 3 months of travel with our kids. The kids have painted everything there is to be painted and sculpted and mosaics and chocolate making and like name it, they've done it.
I want to
So
come back as your kid.
so I told my team in Italy, we had learned on our last trip to Turkey. So in the cisterns, they have all these coins that people will make wishes with. And the guide there told us about how every day they collect all the coins from the Trevi fountain and give it to a local charity.
Oh, that's so
Isn't
nice.
that nice?
Yeah.
So the next day spoke to my people in Rome, and they'll make it happen. But for Thanksgiving, I want to physically get into the Trevi fountain with my children and collect the coins. And
Oh, I love that. I love how you think.
that's what I mean. When you have to know what's in the box to think outside,
I love it.
and
And yeah. So,
that's really important.
so how do you decide where to go next? How did you pick Rome? Do you like going back to familiar places or do you go into new ones or both?
All of it.
Yeah.
So people always like, one of the questions I get often is, where's your favorite place to travel to?
I was like, don't ask her that because it's so generic, but here we go. And there is no favorite. I don't know if there's a favorite, but let me hear your answer.
Well, of course, it depends on the type of trip, right? Who am I going with? What am I doing? What's the season? And then I can answer.
Right.
But the reality is, for me personally, it's Italy. And Italy is a place I love to travel to because I think within such a small geographic region, you could do beach, you could do mountain, you could do, rolling hills of Tuscany, you could do city, you could go shop. Like, it is just this
Yeah.
country. And the people, the Italian people culturally are so warm and welcoming. And we find ourselves in Italy very, very free.
No, it's a great place. Everyone loves Italy. There's nothing not to like about it. So you were saying, and I know you like to think outside of the box and create personalized, unforgettable moments. And I like to think and travel outside the box as well and been to a lot of interesting places. So let's say I'm your client and I call you and say, Erica, I've been everywhere. I need like a wild, unique idea. Where should I go? But I know you're going to ask me questions, right?
So I think it really, you have to first understand what your interests are, right? And are we active? Will we go glamping? Is glamping extends into camping?
Right.
Are you willing to go where there may not be Wi-Fi and, really go on the edge of where people haven't traveled to? Or are you looking for more cultural experience where you're really learning about a different culture and time and place? I think travel, the number one thing it does is that it should humble you because it should really teach you about different destinations, culture, people, and then you have better understanding of why things happen in the way they happen here. And by that, I mean, I'll give an example. After 9/11, I found myself in Dubai. I am a Jewish woman who was very scared of going to the Middle East. I didn't know what to expect. And I got there and I remember going to the Mall of Emirates and I was trying to be respectful and I put, covered my legs, covered my head. Meanwhile, I got to the Mall of Emirates and everybody's wearing mini skirts and had the, titties out and all that. And I'm like, what's happening?
So funny.
But when I
As you
say
were saying that, I'm like, you don't need to do that at a mall.
exactly. But, I was young. It was one of my
You
first.
probably stood out.
I probably stood out like a sore thumb.
Right.
But for me, one of the most defining moments in travel, as long ago as it was for me now, is I did one of those camel experiences where we had the guy walking around in the desert and he was leading you on the camel. He probably knew 5 words and said to me, "Where are you from?" And that was probably the extent of it. But I responded with what I think is a great answer that anybody doesn't need further definition. And I said, New York. And he looked at me and he goes, "Where's that?" And I was like, "Oh my God, the United States. Where are you from?" And he responded with Afghanistan. And at that point, I realized that, like, okay, so the education where he grew up and he didn't know, and it just gave me a grounding of how things can happen like that in different parts of the world where there's no education and some guy shows up and says, "I'm going to teach you something."
Yeah.
And I know that's getting very real and I'm not being political, but that's a moment, and whether I'm right or wrong, that's what I took from that moment that taught me compassion for a different culture and more understanding.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. My mom and I went to India and we had a guide, and the guy just asked somebody on the street, and I don't remember which city it was. It really doesn't matter. And they said, "Can we come in your home?" It wasn't planned. It was literally just a stranger. And she was like, "You can come in and see." And we went in, and my mom's like, "Oh, where's the bedroom?" It was like one room. And she's like, "This is the whole house." It was one room, and 5 people lived in it. And this is something, I grew up on Long Island, totally sheltered from this kind of thing. And it's like, wow, just seeing something like that. And we complain that our places is too small or whatever we complain about. And just seeing how people live in different places is eye-opening.
Yeah. And that's, I think, where, you get humbled. You go to places like India and you understand that the women with a crying, screaming baby in the hot sun begging for money, you feel horrible. But you also learn don't give her money because it's gang related and she's not actually, the money's not going to her. And as a human, you're like, but she's still carrying a 6-month-old screaming, hungry in the 100-degree beating down sun.
Yeah.
Right. So like it stops you in your tracks. And we could talk about the glamour of St. Bart's and being on the south of France and all of this stuff. But the real stuff is learning about different cultures and people and yourself while doing it.
Yeah. I have so much to say. I can't even think. But so I read.
We need a couple sessions.
We do. And I'm thinking,
right, answer your questions. So.
Wait, this is funny. Like, what happened? Oh, wait, this is just a random funny story. I was in Marrakesh and I wanted to get weed, which is like hash there, which, by the way, I almost threw up on a camel.
Because don't ever do that, by the way.
Oh my God, I had to learn the hard way more than once. I smoked in the Sahara Desert some like hash, and then I went on a camel and almost threw up on the camel. I was so sick, just horrible, stupid shit. But the guy who gave me the weed, I was like, "Oh, I want to give you something. Can I give you money?" And I had earplugs in my bag, and he saw them and he wanted them. Like, "You want my earplugs?" Life is so weird. I'm like, "Here." Like, it's like,
well, anything else, buddy? I have gum too.
Right. I'm like, "Okay, I'm so happy I can give you something that you want." I don't know. So random. And by the way, I'm never getting on a camel again, but that's a whole other story. When you said that, I'm like, never again. So, right, you have to do it to know that you don't want to fucking do it anymore.
Ever.
But so I read something you said in an interview that I loved. You said you're constantly in search of an experience and that experience is a type of education that keeps on giving. And this is kind of what we're talking about. And, there's a difference between going to St. Bart's and going on a trip to India or Morocco and seeing a completely different life story. But as I've gotten older, I want the experience. I love material things and they make you feel good to a certain extent, but I spend my money on travel now because that's what I want to do. And so, and
you only have one black leather clutch with gold hardware, right? Like how many do you actually need?
I don't even go out, so I don't even need anything else. But anyway, it's like with experience, like you said, comes wisdom and knowledge and gratitude and appreciation. And I also read that you and your husband started a tradition of gifting experiences instead of material gifts for each other's birthdays. And I love that. And so what was the last experience you gifted him and vice versa?
It's a great question. I think experience goes beyond, it transcends decades in time. It's the last thing you think of on your last day here on Earth. And I always push, and you ask how I travel and how I get those experiences. For me, it's not enough to just get to the top of the mountain and see a beautiful view. You have to have an experience in time and place that you take back with you. And for me, this started many, many, many years ago when I was at the top of Table Mountain in Cape Town. You take a little cable car up there and you get to the top and you turn around and they're like, voila, you see it? And I'm like, yeah, now what? We go down? They're like, well, you can abseil down the mountain that way. I know what the view looks like, I can remember it. I have pictures of it. But what I actually remember was the feeling of abseiling down the backside of Table Mountain. And
What is abseiling?
so instead of rope climbing up, you kind of go down.
Okay, you did that?
And I did that.
Right. You're like, this isn't enough. Let's do that.
Right.
And now you will never forget it.
Correct. So I think those things, like, it has to elicit the five senses. You have to hear, taste, touch, feel. And once you do that, you will remember it. And I will always recommend to clients, or actually my favorite thing to do is surprise them, but take Florence, for instance, and you're going on a tour and you've got a guide, they show up with the S class. I'll have, for instance, an e-bike and a guide show up right next to the S class, and I'll send a note and I'll say, please get on the bicycle. Because what you're going to see from inside a window of an S class, and smell and touch and all of those things, you're going to get that from being on the e-bike. You're not going to get it from a window of an S class.
100%.
So get out there, and that's the experience. So with my husband, for sure, I think you reach a certain point, friends, husbands, girlfriends, boy, all of it, kids even, where a gift seems so meaningless. Even for my children, it's like, what am I going to get them? Another Lego?
Right.
That's not like an exciting thing. So my husband and I decided many years ago that on behalf of each other's birthdays, we would plan a trip for the other. And that's a real gift, because I'm obviously the planner and he's pretty good at it too. Very good at it. He's probably the only one that could do it on my behalf. For me, I'm a January birthday, so I'm a huge skier, and I like to go to Europe skiing. So the last couple of years, that's what we did. And we've been to St. Moritz, Lech, Vermont, or Chevelle, and it's really just our time together. And that is incredible. Everything from the dining to the guides to where we're going and things, that's all handled by Roman. And it's incredible because I get to do like my clients do and just show up to the executed trip. And for him, this summer was new for us because it is the first time that we are empty nesters over the summer, and we've spent 3 months in Europe. My husband's birthday is in July, so he somehow got himself a month of my planning, every aspect. And for his birthday this year, we were at Hotel Ducat in the south of France. And before that, we were in Saint-Tropez and Cap Ferrat and Capri. And after that, we were in Italy at our favorite little place in Lake Como. So he had about a month there of incredible planning and moments and all of that.
That's amazing. I love that. Do you guys like to hike at all? I'm just curious.
Love to hike.
Okay.
We're very, very active. And it's funny, one of the intake questions I found myself always asking clients, because it would give me such insight into the type of traveler they are, is, do you ski? And do you ski is just a very quick way to understand how active is this travel.
Right.
If this client likes to ski, they're probably not going to love just lying at the beach alone with nothing else there. They need a beach, but like a zip line behind them, a jungle, an activity, hiking, casino, whatever it might be. And for us, what I later realized is my asking that question, do you ski, is not just about how active the client is, but it's about how hard they're willing to work for that high. Because skiing is the biggest schlep in the whole world.
That's
right?
why I was going to say, that's why I don't do it. I mean, I grew up skiing and I loved it, but I live in Miami.
Yeah.
I'm older. I'm in my 50s. I'm like, the clothes, the schlepping, the driving, the getting to the, unless you ski in, ski out. First of all, don't even talk to me because I'm not going to the mountain. Not to sound whatever, but no way. And I don't want to be cold anymore. I'm just like, no. And I also don't like beach vacations because I live in Miami. When I lived in New York, everywhere I went was warm. And now I'm hot. So now I'm like, where can I go in the summer that's cold? It's literally like everything turned upside down. So yeah, I mean, as much as I like skiing, if it was outside my window, I would go skiing. But, but I do,
That's the point. It's a lot of work for that
right.
20 minutes of like putting
And
on
it's
a,
a lot of,
and
right, to go for you to get from me to get from my front door to ski down a mountain is how many hours, days, effort, aggravation, and
that's
then
why of like when you're out there,
yeah.
that's gotta be it. You know, that's gotta be
But
adrenaline.
so many things are like that because I'm like, okay, I want to go see the gorillas in Uganda. And I'm like, from my front door to me to get there is like, oh my God, that's so much travel. It's so much work. So now I kind of rethink. I'm like, to do that for a day or two and the
Have you
amount of
done
money it
the
all
gorillas
costs.
in Rwanda?
Huh?
Have you done the gorillas
I
in Rwanda?
have not, and one of my close friends is leaving today to do it, and she
Amazing.
she invited me, and I really want to go, but I've been away the whole summer, and I'm getting foot surgery tomorrow, and I've been on safari, and I'm going to be honest, I might be unpopular opinion, I didn't love it, and after
I
that,
love it.
the downtime, there's so much downtime. I went when it was hot, which was miserable. I went in December. It was like 108 degrees in Botswana. The bugs. Um, and I feel like it's a whole day of not a lot to do in between the game drives. And I don't know, I just didn't love it. And I was like, okay, so if I go to the Uganda, where am I going to go after? This isn't the United States. You can't just get on a plane and go an hour away. So you have to fly back to Cape Town or back to whatever the other place is. And I'm just like, this is so much. It's too much. I can't go now, but I would love to. I'm sure you've done that. Have you done that? Yeah.
Yeah. Being on safari is again, wake
I
up.
know. A lot of people love it, and I did actually really love it when I was on the drives. I just don't want to do it again. I mean, my ideal trip is something with variety, not just every day we're going to do the same thing. I like some culture. I love animals. So if I can get some animals in somewhere and shopping and a little quirky stuff like that, I want everything, and I want and a hike. Yeah. So I'm very, very choosy now, and I don't want to spend my time and my money going somewhere just because someone else wants to go. And I'm very controlling with my travel. So like either I plan it or we don't go type of thing, and I like to travel alone too.
I tell my clients all the time, do not tell me in feedback. If there's an issue, tell me right away and I can change the course of what happens next.
Agree with you. And I'm also someone who speaks up and I have a mouth. I mean, I've fired guides. I had a guy that just sat and texted and we got rid of her. And I've had some amazing guys. I had a guide in Korea who was this young girl and I cried when I left her. I'm like, do you speak any other
You
languages?
have to take me in.
I know. She's amazing. Wait, there's this place called Penis Park
Love that.
outside of Seoul. And she went there. She was like maybe 30 because it was on our list. She's like, listen, I went there. This was 3 hours away by car. She's like, I went there and I checked it out. It's very far, but if you want to go, we can go. And I'm like, you went there just to check it out? That's crazy. And she was just so much fun. I felt like she was my best friend by the end of the trip. I'm like, can you come to another country with us? I don't want to leave you. But
I'm going to tell you something really funny. I was with my kids in June. We were going to Florence. My kids had been several times before. And, how do you make Florence relatable to children?
right,
They're 9 and 11.
right,
It's not going to come from the company on the ground. It's not going to come, or your DMC or your regular travel agent. But all of a sudden, I look at my kids and I said, there's two common themes that exist in Florence within the art. And they're like, what? I'm like, Jesus and penis. They're like, what? I'm like, all over Florence, all you're going to see is Jesus and
so
penis.
funny.
So who's team Jesus? Who's team penis? We're going to go for a scavenger hunt and we're going to count.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. This was just 3 months ago. It was hysterical. It was amazing. We actually met with the mayor in Florence because we're doing a project there with her. But my daughter goes up to the mayor and she's like, can you help me find the penis?
Oh my God. How did you?
Oh my God.
And now they're not going to forget that. How did you even come up with that? That's
I
amazing.
don't know. Those are the random things I kind of come
But
up
you
with.
made it interesting for them. Like now I want to go back.
Right. Like I made it interesting because it's true. Like there's nothing more true in Florence than those two things throughout the entire city. So, my husband and my son were on Team Jesus, and unfortunately, they blew it out of the water when we went into the Uffizi because that's everything Jesus. But we were in the lead on penis for quite a while.
Amazing. So funny. How is it working with your husband? How is
Good
that?
question. My husband and I, a very long time ago, coming into this, we really separated our roles so that he's business management and development, and I'm the creative. So I'm more client facing, although he does have 2 or 3 clients that he personally manages. I handle mostly the team and all the other clients on a creative basis. But as my husband says, he's like, yeah, she's president of the company. Ask her to sign into the bank.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
joke he loves to tell people. So
But I like that. Like you have your set of skills, he has his.
it keeps our lanes very
Yeah.
separate. For being, business decisions puts us butting heads sometimes, but that we try to curb between business hours, which is still taking a lot of work and therapy.
I
Like, you're
love.
not allowed to talk to me while I'm high on the way to the US Open, okay? I'm not answering that question. I just took a gummy and I'm not in that
I
headset.
love it. And I love, like, I saw on your blog, you're like, okay, Xanax or Klonopin for the plane, nothing else works. I'm like, I am
Yes,
such a Xanax on the plane girl. Like,
100%.
my friends, like, I want to take you to Tokyo Christmas, and he can only go on one type of plane. He's so annoying. Like, and I'm like, I'm going to take 2 Xanax. I'm not even going to be alive. Like, do you think I even care? I'm like, I'm not even going to talk to you. So, I mean,
No,
people thought
take the
I'd
medicine
died.
that works, go to sleep like everyone's pretending, oh, I'm going to do my facial mask and all my, I'm like, bitch, I'm sleeping by
I'm
the
out.
time, as soon as they have me on lie down, I'm like, I'm lying down.
No,
And that's
I
the part
won't.
that
After we
I
get on the
don't
plane, I will not speak to you till we land.
understand why people eat on planes. What
Well,
is
let's say you're going to Thailand. You can't not eat.
not
That's
Thailand? I
okay.
mean, sorry, Europe, right? People get on the plane, they waste 2, 3 hours waiting for
Oh,
dinner
no,
service.
no,
I'm
no, no,
like,
no.
but why would you do that? Like, it's 10 o'clock at night. What
I say
at
the
the
same thing. I'm like,
like
you wouldn't eat from 10 o'clock at night till 7 a.m. anyway. Why are you eating 2 meals,
what's the
right?
day before? Like, I don't understand. I think it's just a mindset of being like, oh, it's included with the cost of my, whether you're in business first, economy, whatever, people have that mindset of like,
I'm
well,
with you. I don't eat on the plane either. But sometimes I'll wake up like 5 minutes before we land and I'll see some food and I'm like, do you have any more bread? Like a
can I have
homeless
another
person.
croissant, please?
Right. I'm like, I know you served an hour ago and I'm super annoying, but that's exactly how I am. I don't eat or I bring a snack. That's it. There's no need to eat from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. No one
I
does that
have a big thing about bringing plane picnics. I bring them as we're departing. We'll eat in the lounge, but always also, I don't eat on planes because no matter what class of service you're sitting in, unless it's Emirates first with their caviar service, in my opinion, nothing's worth eating. I'll get the
I agree.
hotel package to go picnic that we'll bring on the plane.
Yes.
And I'll bring something from New York when we're leaving.
I do that too. And I'm like, I will take my Xanax an hour before the flight. I will
I
eat 20 minutes before I get on the plane, pass out like an animal, and we're done. Yeah, this
don't take it until the plane's in flight. I just had the experience
woke
where
up on the
someone took it
runway.
too early and then they turned the plane to the gate and they were falling asleep all over the airport. They were like, I can't stay awake. I can't. I was like, oh, wow. Next time that's noted.
It's happened
And
to
we'll
me twice.
already
I woke up on the runway and I'm like, fuck. But then I just fall back asleep. And then you don't really care. The blow is like lessens because you just don't care as much. Um, so is there any place you wouldn't send a client? Because I worked with someone a few years ago and she said she would never send anyone to Saudi Arabia, which I still want to go to, but I don't know how safe it is as a Jew.
Roman just went there and it's awesome.
See?
Awesome. So they're so focused on tourism
Yeah.
and it is such a beautiful and amazing country and they're really adaptable to making you feel comfortable there. So, when he went to go wrap his tefillin, I was like, can you maybe do that inside? I
Maybe,
don't know about the mountain
yeah,
tefillin wrapping in this place. Like, that was the only thing.
pushing it.
Right? I was like, oh, I know we're all, trying to experience new cultures and all, but that's a little much.
No, I definitely want to go, but she's like, I will not send anyone to Saudi Arabia. I'm like, okay. So is there any place you wouldn't send someone or say, don't go there? Or, I mean, obviously not a war zone, but
I believe that you need to live life as it's handed to you and deal with, especially in a post-COVID world, embrace the world around you. I think that we heed warnings when there's actually something happening. But if you
yeah,
live in fear, That doesn't really make any sense.
My dad, every time yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't think there's any place that I'm saying from a perspective of like, don't go there. It's not safe, or other than the ones that are known to
Right.
maybe not be the right time to go travel
Yeah.
there. But outside of that, I think it's just about being comfortable in your own skin wherever you are. But I don't think unless there's a natural disaster or war, there's no place that you shouldn't travel to for any other reason.
I've been to so many places where people are like, why are you going there? Is it safe? And I'm like, just don't talk to me. Even like Mexico City, people are like, you go to Mexico. I love Mexico City. Like, I want to live there. And people are like, is it safe? I'm like, is New York safe? It's a big cosmopolitan city like New York City. Be smart. Don't count
We
your
live in
cash.
a sheltered world, and
Right.
that's
Like,
exactly
don't,
what
right. Like, don't count your cash in the middle of the street. Don't walk around at night in bad air. Like, use common sense. Like, then don't go anywhere.
in the middle of Buenos Aires and show your watch, like leave it at
Right.
home. So I
Exactly.
think that's exactly the point. Travel should humble you. It should teach you about other cultures. It should teach
100%.
you about accepting other cultures. That's what it's really about. So if you put boundaries on that because you're afraid of Saudi Arabia, which is totally, totally off base and small minded.
I agree. So where do you see your business going in the next 5 to 10 years, especially with AI and people doing so much on their own? Where do you see this going?
It's funny. It's again about owning your time. I think the wealth of information, just as the wealth of information when the internet really hit, and Google and people asking questions and friends and all of that kind of stuff, just with the wealth of online information and TripAdvisor. Go ahead and ask where you should be eating in Paris on a 4-day trip and see how long it takes you to make up your itinerary. Use your chat, your AI, or would you rather make a phone call and know that you're in the right place on the right day at the right time, that
Right.
you're going to enjoy it, that it's in line with what you do. So, you know, Red Travel Club starts at $1,000 a month, roughly, for someone to manage all of your travel. I have a client this morning whose friend that's joining her on a trip to Paris called me because her flight was canceled last night. They rebooked her today. Then they canceled today at 6 o'clock in the morning to Paris. And she's on the phone with Delta with no one to help her at six
Right.
o'clock in the morning. Hours she has spent on this and what happens to her bag and all this. What? How does that make any sense? So people are understanding that if you want the dedication, I know the time that we dedicate to each and every client, we want each and every client to feel like there's no other clients. What other consultants do you have in your life? You're paying your accountant, your lawyer, you're paying your energy healer and your doctor, your massage therapist, your facialist, and your, K-tip extensions or I-tip or whatever else. All of these maintenance people in your life. But the one thing that you work for, your leisure time with your family and friends, you're relying on AI or chat GPT or asking 10 or 20 different friends about their favorite restaurants in Paris. What kind of sense does that make? So where our business is going, people are understanding that it's like having a travel assistant on your team. We act like someone sitting in your office, and we're there for you. And it's an allocation of resources that makes a lot of sense for well-traveled people.
It's an investment in your time. I understand.
Investment in everything else. Why
Yeah.
do you do this to Google? If you love the research as you do, that's great. But wouldn't you rather work with someone that understands the way
Yes.
you
And I like the combination. Yes.
right, and say, here, hands it to you on a silver platter and say, here's
100%.
these 3 options. And you're like, great. And you can trust in that information. I don't want to come back from somewhere and someone tell me, oh, did you do this? And you'd be like, what? I
A
didn't even know that.
100%.
That will never happen on my watch.
Right. Right. It's funny you were saying about the view before because I remember they had on our itinerary and sold the tallest building in the city. And I'm like, cross that off. I don't care. If we drive past it, great. I'll see it. I don't need to take an elevator up to look out a window. Like, I just don't care. So when you think the view, it's like, how many views in your life do you remember? A few, but not a lot, but when you said you had that experience and you came down the mountain a different way, that's interesting, you know?
It elicits the five senses, right? In India, I remember driving through Delhi and they showed me where Gandhi was buried. It's a marble. To me, it was a marble slab with 4 fire posts on it. Did you go there?
No, I went to Delhi, but I didn't see that. No.
We had to drive 45 minutes in traffic. And I do some terrible things just to know, it's not all glitz and glamour.
Of
I do the
course.
work to know it's not
Right.
worth it, right? Or at least to manage expectations to say this is what the experience is like. To me, it was a marble slab with 4 fire posts. And I looked at the guy and I was like, okay, now what?
Right.
And yet I met up with a client 3 days later we kept crossing paths and she found it riveting. And that for me was perspective that it's not just what I think, it's saying,
Yes.
Fontalina in Capri. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No.
It's the famous with the blue and white umbrellas. You always see pictures and you see the rock formations in front. It's a very famous picture out of Capri that people take all the time. If I sent it to you, you'd be like, oh, that's Fontalina.
Mm-hmm.
It's dirty mattresses when you're lying out there at the beach. It's dirty mattresses on rocks or beach chairs that go like this, shake from side to side on the rock. It's not comfortable. The wait staff doesn't care about you. They're not cordial. They're not nice. That's not fun to me. Go have lunch there.
Right.
But, if you talk to someone else, they'll be like, oh, you have to go to Fontalina. Some people do enjoy it, but at least if you know that there's people that experience it the way I did, or the people that actually enjoy it, then you can make your decision and an informed decision.
Right. And I respect that. You're like, Pam, okay, I've been there. This is what it's like. If you like that, I'm just letting you know that this is how it is. And so you make your choice. You want to go or you don't want to go. Where's your next trip?
Well, I haven't shared this with anyone outside of you right now, but this morning, my mother just told me that she will now come with me to Paris. So I'm just looking at dates. I was like, great, I'll get back to you in an hour with full itinerary. I love going to Paris in the fall. So I think I'm going to do Paris and then Rome. And then we have a very busy travel schedule. We'll go to Japan this year.
I think I'm going to go to Japan in November. I just want to go to Tokyo. They have this art show November 15th. It's not high end. It's probably more like quirky, weird. I don't know. It's like 15,000 vendors. And I want to spend 2 days losing my mind, and walking around doing whatever I want and not having anyone bother me.
I think that's an important thing. And I learned it many, many years ago where a client was going to Paris with her family and she was obsessing over whether or not to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Every day, back and forth, back and forth. She was like driving me absolutely nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I said to her, I was like, she grew up in New York her whole life. And I said, can I ask you something? She was about 55 at the time. She's like, what's that? I was like, have you ever been to the top of the Empire State Building? She laughed and said no. And that then transformed her reality of like, what's important when you travel? So, the running around to all the sites and things and like, stop and ask yourself, what is actually meaningful to you? And maybe it's walking Hyde Park, taking a bite. I don't know. Going to a farmer's market and Lily out there and she's singing. It's just the real stuff sometimes is the stuff you should maybe think about and take a beat from all the touristy traffic.
Well, that's like what slow travel is now, and living in a place for a short amount of time and getting to understand what living there is like and not being a tourist, and that's learning the culture. And really, I kind of like that. I don't have so much time, and now I have a puppy. But before that, I was totally free, but now I bought a 15-year responsibility again.
God.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not for me. I mean, it's not for me personally because I just could never be the person at 5 o'clock during cocktails being like, oh, gotta go home to walk the dog. It's just not. I can't.
You know what? I'm used to it. I've had dogs for 30 years and everyone loves this one. So people are like, can I watch him? Can I watch him? So I'm okay. You know, it's the only thing that grounds me because I don't have kids. So, you know, it's all good. I wish we can talk for like 3 more hours because I'm sure you have 9 million experiences and so do I. And I feel like we're similar.
Let's
Yeah,
try to do it again.
totally.
Offline, whatever.
Totally. And I'm gonna come back to New York soon or eventually, and then I'll hit
She's
you up.
Becky on me. Still
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. It was great to have you. And your website is romananderica.com, right?
Yep, and that'll lead you both to Rêve and Roman and Erica and some fun press
Awesome.
and really, great stuff on there.
Awesome. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you. Appreciate the time, Pam. So fun talking.
Same.
Bye.